Well, look, I think it's pretty good that the IMF, in the latest World Economic Report, has confessed its sins. They've examined their record over the past 4 or 5 years, and they've found that they have always got it wrong every year by an average of 0.6%. And they've explained why. I think it's very interesting and that they're being honest about it. So good luck to them, I say.
On a slightly broader level, does this actually bring into question how wise it is to boil down something like economic growth to a single percentage figure?
Well, that's what everyone wants. The IMF kind of has a large economic department. They have a complex model for the global economy, and of course, it boils down to a single GDP number. In terms of the headline. But look, it's a long and involved report. There's plenty in it. It comes down to the fact that they've cut their forecast for this year from 3.4 to 3.3% growth next year. They cut it as well. But look, as I say, who knows if it's right or not? It's all about the future, so forecasts are inherently dodgy. Look, leaving aside the numbers, the fact is the global economy is slowing. It's not the US, it's Europe and Japan, and to some extent China. But Europe is the one. Europe is the world's basket case. We've known that for a while. It's possibly going to fall into recession. The IMF also, as part of its report, publishes the probabilities of recession for the globe and for each area. And the probability of recession in Europe has gone from 20 to 40%. Well, that's quite a lot now. It's not quite the most profitable. It's not quite their baseline forecast yet, but a recession in Europe is looking more and more likely.
And that's partially because of bad news coming out of Germany, which was previously, the stalwart economy of Europe.
Exactly, and the disappointing thing, and the reason I think that everyone's kind of been a bit blindsided by the European slowdown is because the euro has fallen by 10% since May, which everyone would have thought would stimulate exports, particularly out of Germany. But in fact, the problem is that the countries to which Germany exports are all slowing and are all in trouble. In particular, the rest of Europe. They're the main export markets of the rest of Europe. But also China, they export a lot to China of machines and so on that China uses to manufacture products. And so, and the other thing that's happening that's bad for Germany is that the American manufacturing sector is being rejuvenated by low energy costs, which is also detailed in the IMF's report. So you've got the rebirth of American manufacturing. So they're not importing as much stuff as they used to. Italy and France are contracting. So they're not buying as much. China is slowing. They're not buying as much. So Germany, it can't, even despite the falling euro and its low wage costs, Germany still can't get export growth.
Right, now another interesting side note I thought from that report was there's been all this talk of global conflicts hurting international growth, but they don't seem to think, despite the Middle East and despite Ukraine, that's happened so far this year.
Well, it patently hasn't happened. They're raising it as a risk. They're saying that geopolitical risk is there, and obviously, there's also Ebola as well as what's going on in the Middle East. But you can see the oil price is falling. The oil price is down at 8-month or 1-year lows, and that shouldn't be happening with what's going on in the Middle East. So, there's no sign yet of that causing a problem, but they're saying it might. It's a risk. The other risk that they're raising, apart from a European recession, which is a risk obviously, is the potential for problems in financial markets, because they're saying, financial markets look okay, but there's a lot of complacency about it, and maybe everyone's too complacent.
Now finally, closer to home, it seems to be like steady as she goes was their outlook for Australia.
Yeah, they did. It was interesting. They did a particular examination of global housing, and they, in the course of that, did focus a bit on Australia. I commented in my piece in Business Spectator that reading all of their comments on all of the economies that are seeing growth in housing prices, they seem to be less concerned about Australia than anyone else. Yes, how prices in Melbourne, Sydney and Perth have gone up, but there's no sign of excessive debt build-up as a result of that, and so they're saying it's not a problem. I mean, the other countries do have problems, but Australia, according to the IMF, doesn't.
Right, Alan Kohler, thanks very much.
Thank you.